Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Forums podcast by Steel City Church. We are back. Took a little break, and now we're back with something new for you guys. So
Good to be back, isn't it?
good to be back.
Post-Easter, it's warming up.
Post-Easter. Yeah, man.
We've had, 4 winters, and now we're finally back. Finally in spring, I think.
Yeah, we're not waiting for another winter for sure. We're fully here. That sun is shining. We're putting the ACs in. We're ready to go.
AC's going next week.
Yep. We're starting a new series, little mini series in the Formed podcast called The Happy Life. And Chris, let me tell you, I'm living the happy life right now.
How you living the happy life, Jacob?
The Pirates have a winning record.
Talk to me.
It is Masters Week as we're on this podcast.
Oof.
The grass is green. The sun is shining. This is what we're talking about, the happy life. I feel it.
It's great when the Bucks are 1 game over 500 and it's the happy life for you. I love that.
We're celebrating. We got nothing to complain about right now. Nothing.
Complain about. Let's go.
Yeah. 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 So for our listeners, we want to kind of mirror this podcast with Chris's sermons. So we're going to try to tie it as closely to following up from his sermons as we can. You can go check out his sermons every week on our YouTube page. The full sermons are posted there. And then following that, this is kind of just some dialogue to kind of talk about it in everyday language that we try to provide for you guys. And so that's kind of the point of this. And so this can kind of be a companion. This is a great way for you to interact with us and leave comments and questions for us to kind of circle back and answer and help as best as we can, and really just pull you into this conversation as we dive into the scriptures and learn more about Jesus. So continuing on from our Formed series, we're in this series called The Happy Life. Chris, how does this series, what is this series, first of all, and how does it relate to spiritual formation?
Yeah, I mean the Beatitudes are, of course, in Jesus's first public sermon, and he starts it basically like flipping everything up on its head. I mean, I've heard people call this, like, this series, or going into the Sermon on the Mount, like the upside down life, or he's like just taking everything and almost turning it on his head of what is normal in his particular context in what around that first century Mesopotamian area, Mediterranean area. And he's talking about, blessed is. It's like these are the people that are happy. These are the people that actually have it together. These are the people that actually are the closest to the reality of who God is. We called it the abundant life in our Form series. Here we're calling it the happy life. And it's talking about these people that are at a certain posture, a certain position that in a cultural context seem to be a long way away from what the cultural Christianity says that they're supposed to be. And Christ is saying, no, these people in their like basic form are actually the ones that are closest to me, closest to finding who I am, closest to understanding what abundant life or the happy life is.
Yeah, that's good. So we are in the book of Matthew, walking through the Beatitudes, looking what Jesus says is the happy life or is the blessed life. We're starting off episode 1 from Matthew 5, verse 3. It says this: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So starting with this word blessed or happy, what is, as we start out, what is the happy life or the blessed life, and how would Jesus define it? And how is that different than how we would define what the happy life is, or how would we define what the happy life is?
I mean, I think the easiest way is for us to, I think we start with the definition, kind of what we think it is. And I think,
exactly.
I think it's like circumstantial. I mean, you even said it, like, you're living the happy life. The Bucks are 1 game over 500. The Masters are going on this week.
I'm eating my egg salad, drinking my sweet tea.
Your nice bougie lattes. That's the happy life. For me, it's like a hot dog, a turkey blind,
Mhm.
old beat up truck. Like that's just like that's it for me, man. My girls hang, all three of my girls hanging around. Like that's it. I think so often we think of the happy life or a life that is happy being circumstantial. And I think while God honors that, obviously, I think here he's talking about like fullness and flourishing of life. And I think that that's where it's hard for us to wrestle with because it's not this just like tangible thing. We can't. It's hard for us to say, it's when we have these things. There's this almost like internal sense within the external circumstances of fullness or fulfillment and a drawing close to God and what He has to offer us. I think it gives us allusions back to what we read in the first part of Genesis in the Garden of Eden, where it's walking in the coolness of the day. It's intimate fellowship. It's satisfaction. It's worship. It's these beautiful things um, that even within circumstances of life sometimes don't bring. I mean, the Bucks are one game over 500. Let's go Bucks. How really fulfilled are you though, Jacob?
Good question, Chris. That's too deep. Yeah, we would define the happy life, and we often do, just culturally and everyday language is like we want to share the peak moments and say, man, this is the happy life,
Yeah, yeah,
I finally got the degree. I got accepted into this program. I
yeah,
got this job. Like this,
yeah,
this great thing is happening. And we kind of only define those moments as like, man, this is kind of the peak or Zen or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, I think as we go through these, we're definitely going to be shocked with how Jesus would describe fullness and blessedness and this state of happiness. So, yeah, like I said, first verse, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Kind of in your sermon, how you're pulling this out is, you're helping us define what it means to be poor in spirit by looking at the story of the prodigal son. I want you to kind of tell us that, um, in the Chris Notes version of it, and yeah, how do we see what it means to be poor in spirit from the prodigal
yeah.
son story?
I mean, Jesus like drops this bomb, as this and just so everybody knows, this is his very first like public statement is
Hmm.
the happy life is the poor in spirit. And so we felt like it would be good to go to the prodigal son as kind of an example for this. And here you have Jesus says there's a man that has two sons. This is in Luke 15. And the youngest son, it's always got to be the youngest. I mean, Jacob, you're the youngest. I'm the youngest. I think we were just like born to be
That's right.
troublemakers or something.
Yeah,
Um, and the
for sure.
youngest is like, Dad, give me what you owe me. Like, give me my half of what you're going to give me when you die. And so essentially he's saying is like, Dad, you really are like dead to me already.
Mm,
Just give me what you owe me, and I'm going to go and I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to control it. I'm going to do it. And the father does it. And I guess we can talk about kind of what that entails.
yeah,
All that the father actually gave his
right.
half. He went with it. And then, of course, in the next verse, it says, and the son went to a far off land and squandered it with foolish living. And it just kind of like, it all fell apart from there. And you see the younger son's life kind of fall on this like despair, degradation, isolation. It's not what he had planned as he was searching for this life beyond anything the father could give him. And now he's essentially a Jewish man working in a field of pigs,
Yeah,
longing to eat what he's feeding the pigs. And the
mhm,
pigs won't even share.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like, man, he wanted this happy life and he ended up with this. Now, what's he going to do? Now, what's going to happen? And I think this is where the key is in Luke 15. It actually says this phrase. He says, and he came to his senses.
Mhm.
It's like something like clicked in him. He realized, I mean, there's no lower that you can get in this context for a Jewish man to
Yeah.
be working in a field of swine, longing to share the food of the pigs
Yeah.
and not getting any. I mean, he's at the
Yeah.
bottom. He's at the end of his rope. There's no floors below where he is, and he comes to his senses. And I think that is the example of
Yeah.
poor in spirit.
Yeah.
He knows that wherever he is, whatever he's done, all that within his circumstances, pieces, there's nothing that's going to pull him out of this. There's
Yeah.
nothing he can do to undo all that he had done. There's nothing that what he has experienced can offer him the fullness and the joy, the protection, the love, the
Yeah.
care, the mercy, the grace of what his father could. And so you see him hit this point, and he says this interesting phrase. He's like, even my father's hired hands, my father's slaves, have more food than they could ever need. And here I am begging for food from the pigs.
Yeah. Mm.
And it's just kind of this like you realize there's this poverty here. There's nothing that he can do on his own.
Yeah.
He has to go back to the Father.
Yeah, it's at that moment when he's kind of realizing there's nothing else he can really do for himself or say for himself or anything, that I think is kind of nail on the head what it means to be poor in spirit. He spent all of his financial inheritance that he got early. He didn't even make more of it, he made less of it. He's now in the slop with the pigs, and he's got nothing else to do. He's got nothing else, nowhere else to go.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I mean, you think of someone that's just impoverished, just materially impoverished. And we used to talk a lot in education when I was a principal and working in low income settings. Like we would even talk about like the poverty mindset. And I mean, this is it. I mean, he is completely impoverished. There's nothing that he can do
yeah,
from where he is.
yeah. This is kind of leads me to my next question. It's more of like a personal application or maybe cultural application question. We see, the prodigal son. He kind of gets what he wants or what he thinks he wants, and the father gives it to him. There are probably a lot of instances in our own lives where we want something and we maybe go about our own way of getting it, or we even ask God for it repeatedly, and eventually He's like, okay, whatever. Here you go. This is what you want. What is so bad about getting what we want?
Well, in some ways, I mean, I think it kind of depends on how you look at it. I think that so often we get what we want is based on some type of like temporary fix. We're looking for a fix in the moment. We're looking for a that's why we overeat. That's why we indulge in pornography. That's why we go into destructive relationships. That's why we make bad business deals. That's why we fly off the handle at our kids. I mean, it's like all this in front of me is that's all it is. It's temporary. And I think there's times where, I mean, you see throughout scripture, God gives the Israelites what they want. He gives them over to their desires. And I don't think that's like him like striking them down in that. I think that's him saying, all right, here's what you want because I know you're going to keep pestering me for it. Take it. It's not going to go well, but the father being faithful knows that he's always there. And so I think like it's like, man, like what do we want to do? Like what are we asking for and why do we want this thing? I think is the questions that we have to ask ourselves so often
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
think it indicates in us this desire for like a right now thing. Where of course our Father, God is eternal. God has massive plans throughout all of eternity for
yeah,
glorification and
yeah,
whatnot.
yeah,
Not necessarily a temporary glorification of Chris's taste buds for the moment. All
Typically, getting what we want, I think you're right, is it only leads to like a very short gain that isn't really even gain. That we have such a kind of a narrow mindset on even what we ask for, what we desire, that when we get what we want, we actually miss the long run of what God would want for us. And so, I mean, that's what we see in the story. That's what I see in my own life when I think that I want something and that I get it, and you know
Yeah. I mean, it's
what
the
it
kid
leads
who
to
eats
is
the
yeah.
I mean, I'm a parent, and I mean, how many times have my girls, we just got done with Easter. How many times have the girls wanted to hammer that chocolate Easter bunny? And it's just like, I okay, yeah, eat the chocolate Easter bunny. And then that night, it's you holding them hair back over the toilet because they
Hmm.
got an upset stomach because they ate the chocolate Easter
Yeah,
bunny.
yeah. Not that
And it's
Daffin's
just,
chocolate Easter bunny. It would never.
I would never do that. Yeah, Daffy's chocolate is superior.
That's right. Um, yeah, that's good. So we see the character arc. Obviously, the prodigal son. He gets what he wants. He's in the slop, but then he turns and he goes back to his father. This is kind of what you were even saying in answering that previous question. Is the father gives the son the inheritance and takes his hands off and says, "All right, go ahead and live." But then, as the son comes back, we see the father's reaction.
Yeah.
Um, then he welcomes him and everything. But this tells us a lot about the grace of Jesus and how it works and how it transforms us. I'd love to hear you talk about, man, how does the grace of Jesus, when we do have that moment where it's rock bottom, we realize we got really nothing to say for ourselves. How does the grace of Jesus work and transform us uh, in that?
Yeah. I mean, in the story, everything within just kind of our carnal state screams like that this isn't right. Something's wrong here. Where the son comes to his senses, and then he starts like practicing this thing he's going to tell his father. I'm going to tell my father I'm sorry, and that I've sinned against heaven and earth and you and everybody, and I'm horrible. I don't deserve to be your son. Just make me be a hired hand. And so he text says he goes back to his dad, and while he's a long way off, I can just imagine. I don't know about you, Jacob, but like when I do something, like I sulk, and I'm an internal processor, so it just rolls through my head, and
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
go through these like different scenarios and situations, and I think for other people, and it's going to go this way, and then they're going to hate me, and then they're going to cuss me out, and they're going to whatever else, and it just never goes well in my mind, at least. And so here, this son is coming from a long way off to go back to his father. And you're like, okay, here he goes. I mean, Big Daddy's about to put the beat down on his
yeah.
son, on
He's
this
at
youngest
least gonna
son.
ask where he been.
Yeah, like, and where's he been?
What's
Where's
he
my
been
money?
doing? Yeah,
Like, what you do, son? And it says that when the son was a long way off, the father sees him, and he's filled with compassion, and then he runs to his son. And it's just like, hold on, what? And you're like, okay, he's running to put the smackdown on. It's like, don't step on my property. You already got what you wanted. Don't come steal anything else. But it says that he kisses him, and he hugs him around the neck. And there's this like intimate reunion here. And it's like, wait a minute, like this guy just squandered everything. Like this cat's poor in spirit. Like this cat, he doesn't deserve anything. What are you talking about? And then the son then goes into his spiel. Oh, daddy, I'm not worth anything. I've sinned against you. And then he's interrupted by his father, who's yelling at his servants to go find the fatted calf, slaughter it, let's party, get him a robe, get him a ring, let's go. And like this is just like everything flipping upside down in what we think of when we come to like the end of our rope. the or like pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps kind of mentality. And here the Father demonstrates grace, gives mercy to the Son, and celebrates. And it's like, wait a minute, blessed are the poor in spirit. And then he finished the sentence, of course, with, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Theirs is the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of the Father. And the Son was poor in spirit. He comes back. And what is he given? But everything, again, the Father has to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. So goes kind of without saying, but needs to be said. How is the one who is poor in spirit blessed or happy? I mean, they're in the presence of the Father, fully known, everything exposed, not experiencing the shame and guilt that comes with it, but the acceptance and love and celebration
Yeah.
that comes from the Father seeing them. So,
Yeah. And I mean, the Father's thinking too, like, I mean, the Son already squandered everything, and not in like a negative way, but like he, there has to have been a lesson here that he learned.
for sure, for sure.
Like it was obviously, it obviously went bad. And so here he is pouring everything out because the Son, like, why wouldn't he? He
Yeah,
loves his Son.
loves him. Yeah. That's good. Any closing thoughts or remarks, even how we would experience the same type of welcoming that the prodigal son would receive? How do we maybe even take this step from this story, looking at it
Yeah.
objectively, to, man, how does this kind of hit us in real life?
Well, I think a couple things just, I guess, off like Christ stepped into a world of like checkbox religion. I mean, it was very much like you have to do these 600 laws, and then that's how you're going to experience God's goodness. It was not that way. I mean, that's what Jesus is saying here. He's like, I mean, like, how do you go and earn poor in spirit? Like, you don't, like, and this isn't encouraging us to go and like squander a whole bunch of
Right.
things, go hire,
It
go.
it does encourage us to be honest about where we're at, though.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
and that's the thing is this isn't a like accomplishment per se, as it's more of like a posture of our hearts. And that's kind of what we're trying to get through with the Form series. It's like, man, I have seen people from all walks of life demonstrate poor in spirit. And so I think some people misapply this verse and they're like, see, you got to be poor to love Jesus because, it's easier for a rich camel to get through the eye of the needle than a rich man to get to heaven. But that's not what this is saying here. It's this poverty in spirit. There's a man that was at my church that I grew up at, and he was an incredibly wealthy man. Incredibly wealthy man. I feel comfortable saying he was poor in spirit. It was not his possessions or his wealth that was going to save him or what provided for him. I mean, he made it a very like purposeful time to say like it is but the grace of God. But I've met poor people that aren't poor in spirit; they're just poor in possessions or poor in money. So there's this like, and I think that can go for every different situation we put ourselves in. So you can't, because this isn't like an earning based thing; it's a posture that we grow into before God. I mean, I think just for myself, it's kind of random. I'll keep it short, but I was told the other day I'm probably going to have a pretty extensive surgery on my foot. And like I was super bummed, man. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously
I
being a guy that
mean,
runs and is pretty active and moves around a lot, it's going to put me down for a pretty substantial amount of time. And I was really bummed. And having studied this poor in spirit, like in that situation, what does it look like for me to be poor in spirit? Well, I found myself like pulling out of the doctor's office parking lot. Like I'm thinking about all these things that I am entitled to in the moment. Like I'm about to go and get me some McDonald's because it was breakfast time, because I was hungry and I was gonna like eat away my sorrow, or I was gonna go do this, or I'm gonna go watch this, or I'm gonna listen to my book my fiction book instead of whatever, because I just need to get my mind off all of this. And I don't know why, but it was like poor in spirit, just kind of, it's kind of like hitting me. And I was like, dang, like, what does it look like even in this moment for me just to come before God and say, God, I can't earn my way out of this. There's something that's happening, whatever it is, and you can build my faith. I can trust in you. I don't have to trust in my own whatever, even attempt to like bypass these things, but I can actually sit in these things. And I don't know what it was. It was really cool because it was like this, like that, like almost like happiness kind of filled me. It was fulfillment in a moment of sadness. It was a reminder of, God's plan in a moment of just frustration and anger towards what I was going to be facing, potentially facing, depending on how the MRI comes out. And so I don't know. That might be a bad example, but definitely something that I've been sitting in this week about how even I can demonstrate or posture myself as poor in spirit before God.
I mean, that's a good illustration how it hits practically because I mean that's real life. You're going through something hard, and it's easy to just go and operate by, well, since I didn't get this thing that I feel like I'm entitled to, what other things can I fill it with my wants, rather than just simply coming before Jesus and saying, "Hey, man, this is how it is."
And God gives us over to those things, and
Yeah,
not in like a mean way, but in a way
no,
of like that reminder of, hey, that's not gonna
no,
fulfill you.
it's not going to.
And man, I can think of just countless people that I have come in contact
Yep,
with that they're so angry at the circumstances of life that they just can't let themselves like open their hands to the poverty of spirit to say, God, I've got nothing left.
right. Yeah,
And the thing is,
that's.
man, once the Father sees you from far off, not even close,
I know.
far off, he's coming.
Yeah,
He's going to close the gap that you can't close.
so good. It's a good start to our series. We will see you guys next week. Don't forget to drop us a comment. Any questions you guys have, we would love to answer them here on the
That's right.
Formed podcast. So
Answer questions. Give us
uh,
a rating or something
give us
too,
a
right? Doesn't that
rating,
help us?
review, share us on social media. We got several clips that go out every week. So yeah, get the word out. We will see you guys next week on the Formed podcast. Have a good week.
See you, everybody.